This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
What is up, guys? Super excited for the show today. I know a lot of you have been DMing me on Instagram asking about marketing and what to do post-COVID and, now that your businesses are opening back up. So I brought a marketing expert onto the show, Tim Fitzpatrick. He has been doing this. He's been an entrepreneur. He's been doing this 20 plus years. He's got experience in marketing, business development, sales management, strategic planning. He grew a business year over year, 60% or more. It ended up getting acquired in 2005. And now, since 2012, he's been running, and I want to make sure I pronounce this right, Tim, you said it's Rialto Marketing?
That's it, Rialto Marketing.
Perfect. And one of the things that we talked about before the show, and I want to kind of start off in this direction for all the business leaders that are out there listening to this, or if you're looking at starting a business, or you've been in business for a while and you don't know what to do post-COVID, because you talked about you like to focus on the fundamentals. Can we kind of just slowly start breaking each of those down?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it. To me, we like to call the marketing fundamentals the marketing strategy trilogy. Okay, so you've got to understand first who your target market is. Who are you trying to reach? Who are your ideal clients? When you understand who you're trying to reach, it provides direction and focus. And I'm sure you know this from all your marketing experience. When you try to reach everybody, it's impossible. I mean, you just can't do it. It's confusing. You don't know where to go to find the people that you're trying to reach. You've really got to understand who your target market is. From there, you've got to have really good messaging, right? What are you going to say to that target market to clearly communicate what you do, the benefits they're going to experience in working with you, and how you work with them. And if you don't have clear, engaging messaging, it's going to be really, really difficult to market your business effectively. And then the last part of that trilogy is you gotta have a plan. You have to have some type of plan that you can follow. When you have a plan, it helps you understand when and what you're going to execute on. And it provides a framework that you can follow so that you can get much more consistent and repeatable results. So to me, those are the fundamentals. And I find a lot of businesses skip the fundamentals, probably because they're not cool, they're not sexy, they may not understand them, right? And it's not what a lot of people talk about. What a lot of people talk about when it comes to marketing is, you got to have this on your website, or you got to be on Instagram or Snapchat, or whatever the latest cool marketing tactic is. And the problem is when you skip the fundamentals, you're building a house without a foundation.
Yeah, it was funny. The other day, I was on somebody's Facebook ads manager account, and I looked in there, and they were targeting the whole United States instead of their city. And so I just pointed the one thing out. I said, your location is wrong on here, but I mean, it's so many, like you said, there's this, we're always looking for this new fancy needle, and marketing companies will come to you, and they may specialize in SEO or Facebook ads or something like that. And they jump right into that part and skip this. And I think it's very important, especially, and maybe you can talk a little bit more to this, like getting that message clear.
Yep. So the way we approach messaging is we use a storytelling framework. I wish I could tell you, I created this and figured it out. I did not. We follow the Story Brand framework, if you're familiar with that, by Donald Miller.
Yeah.
And it just, man, when it was introduced to me, it just made so much sense. All these pieces fell into place. And, the whole premise behind the Story Brand framework is that, every story has a character who's got a problem that meets a guide. That guide gives them a plan so that that calls them to action so that they can avoid failure and reach success. And if you think about, most popular action movies, most stories follow that framework to a T, or if not, very, very closely. And so, that framework gives us, one, something to follow, but two, stories. We love stories. Stories are engaging. They're easy to understand. And so when we use this framework, what we're doing is we're inviting the customer into the story where, for us, our clients, right, are the guide in the story, and they are inviting their customer into this story where they can help guide them from where they are to where they want to be. Because if you think about most stories, main characters and heroes are actually pretty weak characters.
Right.
They're confused. They have no idea what the hell to do, and they're looking for that help. And when they meet that guide, the guide is the one that has the strength, the authority, the credibility, because they've already solved the hero's problem. They know exactly what the hero needs to do, and they give him that, he or her, that plan that they can follow to get to where they want to be and reach success. And so that's the framework that we use. And it makes sense. It works. And what it does is it gives you a playbook that you can follow so that every time you're creating messaging, you're not going back to the drawing board. You go back to the framework and you pull your messaging from there. And it allows you to create clear, consistent, engaging messaging. And the consistency is key, right? Because sometimes you may see a message from somebody and they're saying one thing, and then next week they're saying something totally different. That's confusing people.
Right.
And I don't know, did you ever hear anybody talk about the marketing rule of 7?
Yeah, I've heard about it a while back, but will you let our audience know about it?
Yeah. So, the whole premise behind the marketing rule of 7 is that, your prospects, your customers need to see your brand and hear your message at least 7 times before it's really going to register with them. So using a storytelling framework, it helps make sure that you're consistently saying the same thing over and over so that they're not seeing a different, because if they're seeing a different message 7 different times, it's going to take forever for it to register, right? But if they're seeing the same message over and over, it's going to register much quicker and hopefully convert those people from prospects to customers much faster.
No, I love that. And Tim, something that you said, and I think that's really important, and especially when it comes to the story with Donald Miller and all that, is that most businesses want to make themselves the hero. And
You're absolutely right.
And it's not that case. Can you go into that a little bit, and let people know what role they should be and how an effective business can tell the right story and give the right message out?
Yeah. So customers aren't looking for a hero, right? They're looking for a guide who can help get them from where they currently are to where they want to be. And because the guide in the story is the much stronger character, right? They know how to solve the problem
Like
that the
Yoda,
hero has.
with Star Wars.
Yeah.
He would be the guide to guide Luke Skywalker to accomplish.
Yep. That's it, right? Yoda is already a Jedi. Luke Skywalker wants to become a Jedi. The super Star Wars people are probably telling me, no, you've got it wrong. There's so many different Star Wars stories at this point, but that's the basic premise, right? Yoda is a Jedi. Luke wants to become a Jedi and he's struggling to get there. And so Yoda, he is the much stronger character, and Yoda knows exactly what steps Luke needs to take to get to where he wants to be. And that's why you want to position your company as the guide. You can help your customer solve the problem that they currently have. This is what they need to do, right? You need to step on these stones to get across to the other side of the river.
Yeah, and I love that you're talking about this, because what that does is, for you as a business owner, it changes your message dramatically, because now you have to do research and find out what are the pain points, what are your customers struggling with, and how can you guide them and move them in the right direction. And that's where profit comes from. That's where you get good ROI. That's where when you tell that story of that way, when you start doing your Facebook ads, your Instagram story ads, Snapchat, all that, when you start doing that, now you have a totally different message than it's, we've been in business for 62 years, or, stuff that's making you the hero, and that's not you being the guide to help them with their problem. I love that, Tim. So when you talk about planning, What are you looking for when you sit down with the client and you start delving into a plan?
I like to keep things as simple as humanly possible. I think it is, especially with marketing, but it's the case. It's the same case with a lot of different things in life. It is so easy to overcomplicate things. I think it's much more difficult to boil things down to its most simple form. So when we look at creating a marketing plan for a company, we like to do it in 90-day sprints, especially with what's going on in the current economic environment with COVID. Trying to create a 1-year marketing plan and putting together this 15, 20-page document, to me, that's a waste of time and it's a waste of money. It's almost like creating a business plan, right? We're all taught, oh, you need to put a business plan together, and then it just becomes this abstract document that you can't even understand and use. So when we look at creating a marketing plan, I like to look at several different things. And it is, I mean, it's simple. It's on a Google sheet. Okay. I don't overly complicate this thing. So one, we like to make sure you at least have a general idea of who your target market is. So, we can dig as deep as you want, but at the very least, having some type of summary of, hey, I have these ideal client types. Most businesses don't have more than 1 to 3. I think if you have more than that, it can become really difficult and confusing. But at least have a high level summary of, hey, these are the people I'm trying to reach. Second thing is you got to have a goal. And, we all talk about SMART goals, right? They're measurable, they're time bound, they're realistic. I think you have to have a general overall goal for what you want to accomplish with your marketing. At the same time, a lot of SMART goals are outcome-based goals, and outcome-based goals tend to have a lot of things involved in them that are beyond your control that can impact your ability to hit them. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Right. And so I like to tell people you got to have that goal, but don't get too caught up in the goal, because there are going to be things. A pandemic hits. Oh boy, right? That is going to impact a lot of people's ability to hit their goals. So, but you've got to have an overall goal so that you know where you're trying to get to. The next thing you got to understand with your plan is you have to have a marketing budget, and you have to understand your staff resources, right? Because what you choose to focus on in your marketing plan is heavily dependent on the money that you have to invest and the resources or time that you can devote to that plan. If you're a solopreneur and it's just you, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally okay. But you're probably not going to be able to spend 20 hours a week on your marketing plan, right?
Right.
So you've got to have an understanding of the budget and the resources that you have to put into your plan. Then you've got to understand, what are you currently doing in your current marketing plan? When we break down and look at what you're currently doing in your marketing plan, we look at these main channels. Have you done strategy work, right? So do you know who your target market is? Do you have good messaging? Okay. Then your website, your content, SEO, social media, email marketing, paid advertising, and then offline marketing. And when we look at offline, what I'm talking about there is, are you doing speaking engagements? Are you doing networking? Are you involved in a BNI group? Are you doing direct mail? Those types of things are offline. But you need to look at what you're currently doing in each of those channels. And it's okay if you're not doing anything, right? All we're doing here is trying to figure out where you currently are at so that we can lay out the plan to get you to where you want to be. It's kind of like your GPS, right? Your GPS is going to have no idea how to tell you how to get to where you want to go until you first plug in where you're currently at.
Yeah, and I love that you do it every 90 days, because now you can sit there and pivot and go in the direction of what you're seeing from the data that's coming in. So I think that, like you said, no one looks at their business plan that they made 22 years ago,
Right. No, they don't. So, you got to keep it simple, right? So once you know what you're currently doing, then you can lay out your plan for the next 90 days in those channels that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
you're right. And it may not be, you may only focus on 2 channels, right? It just depends on where you are currently and what you've done. But at least then, if you know, hey, for the next 90 days, I am going to work on beefing up my LinkedIn profile. I am going to start sending out, whatever, 10 connection requests a day, and I'm going to start posting um, once each day. And I'm going to engage with at least 5 people each day. If that's your plan for the next 90 days, that's totally okay. But it's down on paper so that tomorrow, when you get distracted by somebody telling you, oh, you got to be on TikTok, you go,
Right.
no, you know what? I don't right now. For the next 90 days, I am focusing on LinkedIn, and these are the things that I'm going to be doing on LinkedIn. And then at the end of those 90 days, right, the last part of the plan is, what are you going to measure? What are the metrics you're going to look at? And I don't think we need to overcomplicate these things. These are just metrics that you can look at to say, hey, is what I've been doing for the last 90 days having an impact and helping me get to where I want to be? And then at the end of the 90 days, you're just looking at it, you're reviewing it, right? Even people like you and I that have been in marketing for a long time, we're not perfect.
Right.
Marketing is about testing, looking at what's working, making incremental improvements over time. And it's the incremental improvements over time that make all the difference in the world. So we just take this framework that I just went through, these 6 different steps, and at the end of each 90 days, you're looking at what worked, what didn't, put a new plan in place, and just do it all over again.
No, I love that. I think that's awesome. One of the things that I feel like a lot of businesses put an emphasis on, and I want to kind of get your opinion on this because I know that your business, your marketing company does this. Let's pause real quick because, like, if they want to get a hold of you, how could they? Like, maybe they're like, I love this. This sounds really good. What is the best way to get a hold of you? Is it your website or?
Yep. Yeah. It's our website. Which is Rialto, Rialto marketing.com. So it's rialtomarketing.com. The other thing that we did do is put together some free resources for your listeners on some of these fundamentals that we've just been talking about. So if they actually go to rialtomarketing.com/ABQ, they can check out those free resources there as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
And, speaking of websites, because everybody, they'll have a company that'll come down and charge them 5, 10, 15 grand, for this fancy website. Because I think this is so important for businesses, especially now with, all the online shopping that's going on and people that are going online now. They're, after, what we had experienced just now with the stay at home and all that. And I want everybody to know you're just the next state over. You're in Colorado, right?
Yep.
So, and I know you guys are a little bit ahead of us as far as coming out of this, but people are going to be more intentional. They're going to look at your website before they go visit you. If you're a brick and mortar store, what are some of the things that you're seeing that's wrong that businesses are doing on their websites?
Boy, that's a loaded question. Yeah. There's a lot of things, but specifically to COVID and reopening, right? One of the biggest mistakes that I see businesses making right now is their communication stinks. They are
Yeah,
not clearly communicating. Are they open? Do they have restricted hours? How are they doing business? Right? What changes are happening within their business? So that type of stuff is really important, especially as we start to look at, hey, we've been in our houses, we want to get out, but I think most of us still want to do it safely and
right.
not negatively impact everybody else around us. Having no idea how you're handling business right now that's not good, right? So you absolutely need to communicate and let people know what you're doing. For example, I went to the dentist 2 weeks ago, and up until like 2 days before the appointment, I still had no idea what they were doing. I went to their website. Their website said nothing
Hmm.
about, hey, this is how our COVID-19 procedures are being handled. This is what to expect when you come into our office. I mean, that kind of stuff, you're going to lose customers because of that.
Well, and it's funny, speaking of dentists, and I know a lot of people do this. If they're thinking that they're the hero, instead of guiding someone along, like you had talked about earlier with your messaging, then the whole website is just pictures of the dentist and his family.
Right.
And it has
Yeah. Yeah.
no bearing or nothing for the customer at all.
Well, and so that leads into one of the biggest mistakes people make with their websites. When they position themselves as the hero, all they do is talk about themselves. And what a lot of people don't realize is our customers don't care about us. All they care about
Right.
is themselves and what we can do for them. How can we help them solve the problem that they currently have? And so that's why it's so important to position yourself as the guide, because then you're not going to focus on how great you are. You're going to focus on the problems you solve, how you're going to help your customer get from point A to point B, the failure elements that you're going to help them avoid, all of those things that are important to the customer. And so that's one of the big problems that people have with their websites is their messaging it focuses on them and not the customer.
Yeah, and I'd seen, speaking of dentists, this is so funny. I saw a website where a guy had pictures of himself in college. He's like 50 something years old dentist, and he had he was a linebacker at a prominent university, and his whole page was all about him being a linebacker back in 30 plus years ago. No customer, and I'm glad that you said that, because it's so true. They and this is like, people get such big egos when it comes to this, but it's so true. The customer doesn't care about you.
Nope. All they care about is how we can help them.
I love that. And
So,
so when you look at websites, one of the things that I see, and one of the things that you help businesses with, and for me, like, a website has to generate leads. So
yep.
when you're looking at a website, and I know if they get a hold of you, you could help them go through this process of seeing this, but being able to set appointments, being able to, and we're talking dentists because you had brought that up, but a dentist being able to get appointments online, being able to easily text a number, a 24-hour chat or something like that. What do you look at, and what do you suggest to your clients when it comes to lead generation?
So this comes straight from StoryBrand. Okay. If you want to generate leads from your website, you have to have calls to action. You have to tell people what you want them to do. And so with the StoryBrand framework, you've got two different types of calls to action. You have a direct call to action, which is for somebody that's ready to buy, right? They're ready to take that next step. So that could be shop now, schedule your appointment, get a free consultation, right? Those are for people that are ready to take that next step. But we've got to tell people what we want them to do. I mean, how many times
Right.
have you been to a website and there's no calls to action? It's
Yeah,
just
no, yeah.
talking about them, and then you're going, well, gosh, okay, I guess I got to call them, and then you're looking all over the place just to try and find a phone number. I mean, it's like
You
you're
gotta scroll
never going to
all the way
generate
down to
leads
the
from a
bottom of the
website like that.
website, and there's the address and the phone number all the way at the bottom. I think that's so important. So whenever you take a client and you've gone through the fundamentals and you work with them, and you guys come up with this, you come up with some good messaging, you come up with this 90-day plan. What is the next steps that you take them? Because I know you kind of have to customize it per their industry and stuff like that. Where do you go after that, looking at what type of marketing they should do?
Yeah, it depends on where they're at and the marketing that they've already done. But a lot of the businesses that we work with, we start with, at a minimum, messaging work using the StoryBrand framework. I like to get into, target market stuff. Depending on budget, sometimes that it doesn't work out that way, but any fundamental work you do is better than nothing. So
Right.
a lot of the times we're doing messaging work. Inevitably, that messaging work, you got to update your website. right? So there's some type of website redesign. And then from there, you can start to expand into some of the other channels that we've talked about. But, you mentioned this early on. Your website is so important now. It's more important now than it ever was. And it was important before this whole COVID thing happened, but so much business is being driven online. I don't care if you are a local business and you're 100% referral, you still need a website, because guess what? When you get referrals, where do you think people are going? They're
Right.
going to your website to check you out. And if they don't like what they see, you're losing business and you probably don't even know it. So, a lot of the fundamental work leads into website work, and then you can start to expand from there. And where we recommend people focus really just depends on the type of business, what they want to accomplish and what kind of budget they have, right? But I will tell you this, there is some low-hanging fruit for a lot of businesses. For local businesses, online reviews are huge.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a system in place to be able to consistently get reviews. Reviews are such a driving force in whether we're going to call somebody or take that next step. You got to spend some time making sure that you're consistently asking for, then getting, and then responding to your reviews. That's low-hanging fruit for a lot of businesses. Local, again, Google My Business. You got to have a Google My Business page set up, optimized. That will then obviously play into your reviews, because all your reviews are going to show up on your Google My Business page. But the other area of low-hanging fruit, I think, for a lot of businesses is email marketing too. A lot of people discount it. I mean, I can't tell you how many people we've talked to. They've been in business 5, 10 years. They've served thousands of customers. And you ask, well, are you sending out consistent email communications to your past and current customers? No. Email marketing is so inexpensive.
Yes.
For the amount of people you can reach. And it is a great way to stay in front of people. I know a lot of people, shun it because they don't want to get emails themselves. But, the bottom line is it still works. And as long as you're communicating valuable information that your ideal clients are going to find helpful, it's totally okay. And it will work. And it will work very well. But again, you can't position yourself as the hero, right? Because then all your emails are going to talk about you. Send out valuable information that's going to help your customers, and it's going to work. So that's some low-hanging fruit for a lot of businesses to start.
No, I love that. I talked to a business the other day, and they had 90-something thousand emails, and they were not doing anything with them.
Yeah, most people would love to have 90,000 emails on their email list.
Yeah. And I was like, if you just send an email out, I guarantee you're going to get some, with that amount of customers that you have. If you send an email, I guarantee you're going to get a phone call, an appointment. You're going to get something from that. So
absolutely.
I'm glad that you said that.
Well, and, the other thing that I think is important to keep in mind too is don't get caught up with the numbers. I mean, yeah, would it be great to have a 90,000 person email list? Yes, but you know what? I guarantee you there are some 1,000 person email lists that outperform that 90 if those 1,000 are truly engaged, committed fans of your company.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that you mentioned reviews. We had a business meeting up in Portland, Oregon, and we all looked online. We wanted to go to a brewery that had good food. And the sole way that we picked it is what had the best reviews on food. And there's probably 30, 40 breweries. And there was one that outshined them all. And I guarantee you they're getting way more customers.
Absolutely. I mean, think about, at least for me, and I don't think I'm much different. If I'm looking for a local restaurant or a local home service provider, I've got plumbing issues, I'm going to Google, I'm typing in a keyword, Denver plumber or whatever it might be, Denver Mexican restaurant. And there's a map pack there that shows the local restaurants or the local plumber. And if you're in there, if you have the most reviews and the best reviews, that's the first place I'm calling. You're getting the first chance, right? I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to look. If you pick up the phone, I'm going to talk to you. If I like what I hear, odds are pretty high that I'm going to have you come out, and I don't think I'm that much different. Think about all of us buying stuff on Amazon. I don't know about you. Before I buy anything on Amazon, I'm reading reviews.
Right. Exactly.
So they're a huge driving force, especially for local businesses.
Yeah, and this is so great, and I'm so glad you came on, Tim, because whenever we look at customers, especially when you're in the digital marketing realm of things, you're going 180 degrees out, which is what I love from a lot of other digital marketing companies. They're so quick to jump into Google ads, or so quick to jump into Facebook, Instagram ads, or whatever the latest thing is, and we haven't even talked about that yet, and yet you're bringing up, get your messaging, get a 90-day plan. Let's get the fundamentals down. Let's see where we're going with our story. Let's work on your website. Let's get the reviews, from our customers. Let's get some email marketing. Let's begin to communicate with our existing customers and share our new story with them. So these are all things that is easy and obtainable. And with somebody like you being the guide and coming along and helping them out, this is something that to me is what's needed, especially in local businesses, because we're so quick, and we can get into this a little bit, but we're so quick to do the digital ad space. And I know what are your views on Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, and all that? Because I know you guys do that. How do you look at that with the client?
They definitely have their place in a plan, right? Paid ads is a great way to generate leads quickly. And so, there are a lot of marketing companies out there that will use paid ads as a way to generate leads while they're doing work that is going to take a little bit longer to see results, right? Because I always tell people, if you expect immediate results from your marketing, I think you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're going to go, this isn't working, and then you're going to stop. Marketing takes time. It's an investment, and you have to see it as an investment that you're going to make each and every month, and it will pay for itself, and you'll get returns, but it takes time. Paid ads can be a great way to start generating leads more quickly. But it's also a way to, you can spend a lot of money, right? So it is important for you to understand that and know if you are getting a good return on investment on that, right? And in order to understand that, you have to understand, what's your cost per lead? And then after that, what's your cost to acquire the customer beyond that, right? Because every lead doesn't turn into a customer, right? So does it take 5 leads to generate a customer? Does it take 10? All of those play into that. And you've got to know those numbers to determine whether that particular paid advertising channel is going to make sense for you long term.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want people to understand when they're looking at generating leads like this, or phone calls, or whatever, is the system that you have in place for that, and what's going to happen. A while back, I had a client that the whole situation with them was the person that they had answering the phone to set appointments was disgruntled, was not getting paid very much, like $10 an hour. And so when they doubled their phone calls by adding, spending $2-3 grand a month on Google ads, this person just was, so how we figured this out is we were having people, just calling, pretending like they were a customer or whatever. And, 2 out of 3 times they were getting hung up on. Just so now this person that was disgruntled, now you're doubling their phone calls. And so it had nothing to do with the ROI of what the Google ads are doing. They were actually working. What was happening is at the end of that funnel, what was going on. So that's something. So all we did was we kept her at $10 an hour. We just gave her an incentive to how many appointments she set. And we were able to work with the owner on that. And so now she got a percentage of the appointment she set. She got a percentage of the money of that. And next thing you know, they were just setting appointment after appointment after appointment. So I just want everybody to know a digital marketing ad is not your cure-all. It's not going to fix everything in your business overnight.
No. And I also think there's 2 things there. One, the other thing that would help in that situation too is call tracking, right? So
Right.
we can track calls, record calls so that you can monitor what's happening and make sure that the sales side of this equation is not dropping the ball. But the other thing too with paid ads is they can absolutely be effective. They can generate tons of leads, but that can't be your only source of leads. You have got to spend time building other channels that are driving leads because,
Mhm.
Google changes, Facebook changes, and it's not unrealistic to think that overnight, all of a sudden, those 50 leads that you were generating are gone because of changes that they made.
Right.
And if you're not taking time while you're building your business, taking advantage of those paid leads, growing other channels, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen, with Google updates and stuff like that, especially on the SEO side of things. And
Yep.
I kind of want to. We just have a few minutes left, Tim, and this has been so helpful and so great. And I love all the value that you're providing my listeners. One thing I want to leave on, a lot of people pay a lot of money for SEO. Businesses that are out there, and they may be spending 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a month on SEO. What are some of the things that you're looking at whenever you're seeing that?
So first off, again, with SEO, again, it's all going to come back to those fundamentals first. If you're spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month to drive traffic back to your site and you don't have good messaging, you don't have some essential website elements, you're wasting money, right? You're flushing money down the toilet. You need to
Exactly.
go back, start with those fundamentals, and then there's nothing wrong with SEO. It is absolutely something that most businesses should be focusing on, but at the right time. And SEO, again, depending on your market, and your niche, how, are you trying to attract people from a local geographic area or nationally? All those things are gonna play into what you need to focus on, from an SEO standpoint. There's some things that we focus on with local SEO that aren't really quite as important, for somebody nationally. Google My Business isn't all that important for a national company, but it's absolutely critical for a local business. Content, especially for on the national side, creating content. If you're not creating content, you're going to have a really hard time generating traffic consistently long term. But content isn't quite as important. I think it's still important to try and drive, local links and that kind of stuff, but content is not quite as important from a local SEO standpoint.
No, I that's something I want people to understand. Because I talk to a lot of businesses that are spending, 1,200, 2, 3, 4 grand a month on SEO, and it's like they don't know if it's working or not. They don't know where they're at on it, and you could take that money that you're using for that and turn around and get back to the fundamentals. Get your messaging right. Get clear messaging. Get a plan together, fix your website so that it could generate those leads that are out there. I mean, SEO is important, but
Yep.
and what you're saying, Tim, is even more important. You're already getting a ton of traffic to your website. You may not even realize that. So from there, every time I look at people's Google Analytics, it just amazes me to look at it and say, "Wow, you're getting a lot of people getting a good amount of traffic." It's like, how are you converting that traffic?
Right.
If you're having 2,000 people come to your website every month and you're not converting any of them, getting 20,000 is not going to help you in that arena. So, it's just so important. I appreciate it. Tim, if somebody wants to get a hold of you again, what is the best way that they can use your services or get a hold of you or schedule a consultation or something?
Yep. Yeah. They can just go to our website, rialtomarketing.com. We've got we offer a free consult. There's a button right there, at the top of the page. They can schedule a free consult. Be happy to talk to them, give them some clarity about where we'd recommend they focus their marketing efforts right now based on where they're at. And like I said, I've got some free resources for your listeners at rialtomarketing.com/ABQ as well. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation with you,
Yeah,
Jason.
oh yeah, I love it, Tim, and I love your philosophy and the way that you do marketing, and I appreciate being straightforward and honest, and that's something that is needed in this industry. And so I will be making sure that I send people in your direction, and I will also we send a big email blast out and all that. So make sure that I put this link in there, and people will be able to get that free information you provided for my listeners. So thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Jason. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.